I just stopped. I stopped mid-road on a crossing. I could have been killed because of the dopamine rush just from a sip of this aquarium-sized soft drink. Last week, we were in New York for the first time in 20 years. In Chinatown, we accidentally bumped into iShow Speed filming a music video. We were in Times Square. It was the premiere of the new F1 movie, but we were there, they were there. It was just a really good experience. And if you've seen Hamilton, the original Hamilton, then my kids got their picture taken with George Washington. I mean, what a fantastic experience and what an amazing city. However, there is something that we need to talk about, and that's the food. Now, if the UK has a food battle, which I believe we have, the States, man, you've got a food war, and I'm not sure how you can win it. We went to a fast food place called Raising Cane's, and if you're from the UK, I would describe Raising Cane's, what you think or remember KFC being, that's what Raising Cane's is like. And then there was Cat's Deli, which is another tourist hotspot, but again, really authentic venue. It felt like a movie set. But my favorite place to eat in New York is Pershing Square. It's just opposite Grand Central Terminal. And we spent $200 on breakfast. So what problem did I have with the food? Well, it started with breakfast in another diner. Now, I'm from the UK, so excuse my naivety here, but what the fuck is breakfast syrup? And when I looked at the ingredient list, it looked like a chemistry ingredients list, not a food ingredients list. I tasted it, it was one of the best things I've ever eaten. I had 2 pots, and that's where the problem started. Because I couldn't quite understand how something so rubbishy could be so delicious. And later on, my son picked up some candy and it was Swedish fish. My son likes them. In the UK, I'll have one and I'll think it's fairly ordinary and then that will be that. He gave me the US version of Swedish fish. I had 6. It was some of the most palatable food I've ever eaten. And this made me thinking, so I checked out the ingredients for UK Swedish fish and the US Swedish fish. I'll put them on the screen now. Pause the video if you want to see. And the ingredients list for the UK version and the US version are just substantially different. And it's those differences in ingredients which means I'm fairly indifferent to the UK version of this candy, but the US version was lighting up all sorts of dopamine sensors. So we went to a 7-Eleven and in 7-Eleven, why are the letters capitalized apart from the last one? If you know, let me know in the comments. I'm looking at this thing thinking everything's capitalized apart from the N. Why? So my son picked up this, it was like a fish tank, and he filled it with these kind of frozen drinks, this slushy stuff, and he had wild cherry with some Coke flavor stuff in there. And I thought, that's fine, I'll let him have one. And he gave me a sip, and no word of a lie, I just stopped. I stopped mid-road on a crossing. I could have been killed because of the dopamine rush just from a sip of this aquarium-sized soft drink. The speed and intensity of the dopamine hit from some of the foods, some of these kind of like junk foods that we had out there, was just something I've never experienced before. And it actually kind of felt like almost like an illegal high. It was just that intense to somebody who's not used to that type of food. And the point of this isn't to kind of like mock anyone's food. A lot of the food, as you've heard, was actually really high quality, really good food. It's to raise a red flag, really, about the food industry. Because if you've got scientists and boardrooms that are putting together such a precise mix of salt, sugar and fat that it's making foods addictive when you're eating them, I struggle to stop eating some of the candies that my kids were eating. And this is very much like me. So how do people really stand a chance, and how does natural food stand a chance when this kind of junk, crappy food is just so hyper palatable and giving you these dopamine hits, but at the same time, leaving you feeling unsatisfied, so you need more of it. So if you're berating yourself about your willpower and ability to not stop when you start a tub of ice cream, I mean, just look at the ingredients list. Thankfully in the UK, and I hope they don't become prolific here, foods like high fructose corn syrup, which I think is probably one of the best things I've tasted, but one of the worst things for moderation. I really hope these things do not become part of the UK diet. In fact, my son, for the first time ever, this is the stuff that he smuggled home in his suitcase because he just couldn't stop. on this stuff. Even things like Pop-Tarts, which you do get in the UK, the ingredients list on this is very different to the ingredients list on the UK version. And don't get me started on the Lucky Harms. He managed to get this in his suitcase as well. And I was looking at the sugar levels of this and trying to understand the label. And it's actually quite difficult to work out. Maybe it's because I'm not used to US food labels. But on a UK label, so this is like Frosties, which are considered not that healthy. You've got a color coding across the bottom here, so you can see what's what and what's good and bad for you and how much sugar's in it. In this version here, when I look at the labeling here, it's not color coded. And in addition to that, the sugar amount isn't the total sugar, it's just the added sugar. And then when I look at the side of it, it is quite difficult to find out what the sugar levels are. I think it's about a third of this is sugar, and I'm thinking to myself, why don't I just let the child have cookies for breakfast? Because they're gonna have less sugar in than this has got in it. So what did I learn? Now, as I've mentioned, I genuinely didn't know the same food in different countries could have vastly different ingredients in them. I just didn't know that was a thing. Did you? That's my question, did you? Because when food is designed to override your natural ability to stop eating, good judgment and willpower, I mean, it can just go out the window, can't it? Because those dopamine highs we were getting from these kind of junk foods were just crazy. So if you're beating yourself up
punch, 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 wedgie
about not being able to stop eating some of this stuff, then just give yourself some grace, because it is so hard to compete against the food industry and the food business when they're making foods that are just so addictive and hyper palatable like this. YouTube knows you better than I do, and it thinks that you will like this video up here. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I really want to make this a talking point because I just feel like I was quite shocked by some of the taste and flavor profiles of these food. Until next time, see you soon.